I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, honestly. Jessica and I had been married for 5 years, and for the most part I thought we had a pretty good thing going. Sure, every couple hits rocky patches, but we always seemed to pull through, or at least I used to believe that. Our anniversary was coming up and I was genuinely excited for it. We planned a nice dinner at that new fancy restaurant downtown, the one Jessica had been raving about for weeks. It felt like a good way to celebrate, to remind ourselves of the good times. But from the moment I woke up that day, something felt off. Jessica was unusually tense, snapping at me over little things. I'd ask her if she needed help with her dress, and she'd give me that sharp, dismissive look like I was bothering her. Normally, she's pretty easygoing, but that morning she was irritable, almost bitchy in a way I'd never seen before. I chalked it up to nerves, or maybe she was just stressed about work. Still, I couldn't shake this weird sense that something was wrong. While I was getting ready, I noticed her phone kept buzzing and she'd quickly slip it into her purse every time I looked her way. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw a text message pop up: "Can't wait to see you tonight. Love you." It was from someone named Mark, and it was sent about an hour before I was supposed to pick her up. My stomach clenched. I didn't recognize the number, but the tone of the message made it clear. This wasn't just a friendly "see you tonight." It felt like something more. I hesitated, wondering if I was just overthinking, but my gut told me there was something she wasn't telling me. Later that day, I decided to do a little digging. I know, probably not the most mature move, but I couldn't help myself. I checked her call log, her social media. Nothing suspicious there, but I knew her pattern. Jessica had a habit of deleting things when she'd been sneaky. I remembered her acting weird during the week leading up to this, avoiding my questions, being overly defensive about her whereabouts. Like I said, I'd been suspicious, but I never had hard proof. Not until that morning when I saw that damn message. That's when everything started to unravel. After I saw that message from Mark, I couldn't sit still. My mind spiraled, trying to piece together what the hell was going on. I kept asking myself if I was just paranoid, if maybe she was just talking to a coworker or a friend. But deep down, I knew that tone, that familiarity, it wasn't innocent. I decided to follow her after work just to see where she was going. I figured if she was planning something, I'd catch her in the act. That night, I waited in my car outside her office. After about an hour, she came out, looking over her shoulder like she was trying to avoid someone. I noticed she was on her phone, texting furiously. When she finally got into her car, she immediately started driving toward the city, not home. I followed from a safe distance, heart pounding. She pulled into a small, nondescript apartment complex, parked, and went inside. I stayed in the car, watching, trying to let my mind process what I was seeing. It was a sickening feeling, like my insides were twisting. I parked around the corner, pulled out my phone, and snapped a couple of pictures of her going into that place. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I knew this was more than just innocent flirting. Then I got the courage to call her. I heard her answer, and I could barely keep my voice steady. "Jessica, where are you?" I asked, trying to sound calm. She hesitated for a second, then snapped, "What does it matter to you? I'm just working late." Her voice was bitter, aggressive almost. She lied so smoothly, like she'd been practicing, but I wasn't buying it. I told her I saw her go into that apartment and that I knew she was lying. Her silence on the other end was deafening. That's when she finally started to crack. She yelled, "You don't get to control me, Kyle. I'm not some obedient wife who stays in line all the time. Maybe I want to see someone else. Maybe I'm not as perfect as you think I am." That was the moment my world shifted. I'd always thought we had a good relationship, even with its flaws, but hearing her say that she didn't care anymore, it cut like a knife. I felt this rush of fury mixed with heartbreak, and I knew I had to confront her face to face. I told her I'd be there soon, then I hung up and sat there in shock. How did I get here? I thought I knew her, but now I wasn't so sure anymore. The drive to her apartment felt like it took an eternity. My hands were tight on the steering wheel, my mind racing through every memory I had of Jessica, the laughs we shared, the plans we made, the way she'd looked at me just yesterday telling me how much she loved me. And now, all of that felt like it was crumbling. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I was so blind to who she really was. When I pulled up to that dingy complex, I felt a mix of anger and betrayal so intense I thought I might vomit. I saw her through the window, sitting on the couch, her head bowed, texting again. I wanted to storm in, scream at her, demand answers, but I knew I had to play it smart. I stood outside for a moment, fighting the urge to break down or just lose my shit right there. Instead, I took a deep breath and went inside. She looked up when she saw me, her face momentarily blank, then her expression twisted into that smug, bitchy smirk. "Oh, if it is Mr. Trusty Husband," she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "What are you doing here, trying to catch me in the act? Newsflash, I don't owe you my every move." I was so angry I could barely speak. I just stared at her. "Jessica, I saw your message. I followed you. Who is Mark? Why are you lying?" She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms, and laughed coldly. "Honestly, Kyle, you're so paranoid. Mark's just a guy I work with. We're friends, that's all. You think I'm stupid enough to cheat on you? Please. You're so insecure, it's pathetic." Her words stung more than anything else. I wanted to believe her, but I had seen too much, felt too much betrayal. Then she leaned in, her eyes narrowing. "You think I'm some kind of cheating slut, huh? Well, maybe you're right. Maybe I've been bored, maybe I needed something more. God knows you're never there for me, so I found comfort elsewhere. And honestly, Kyle, if you just stopped being so controlling, maybe I wouldn't need to look for something else." That was when I finally lost it. My fists clenched and I told her she was full of shit. I said I'd never felt so betrayed in my life, that I never expected her to lie to my face, let alone cheat on me. I told her I was done trusting her and that I was done with the whole damn marriage if it came down to this. Her smirk only grew wider, like she enjoyed watching me fall apart. I left her there, and as I walked back to my car, I felt this strange numbness taking over. I was furious, yes, but also devastated. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me this way? I half wanted to scream and cry at the same time. All I could think about was that she had been secretly planning to leave me. I found out later she'd already booked a divorce lawyer that very same day. The happy marriage I thought we had was gone, and it was clear she had been planning her exit for a while. I just didn't see it coming, not in a million years. The next few days were a blur. Part of me wanted to pretend it was all a nightmare, that I'd wake up and this would somehow all be a bad joke. But I knew better. Jessica's behavior, her lies, her little digs, it all made sense now. She'd been planning this for a while, and I was just too blind or too comfortable to see it. That realization hit me hard. The woman I'd loved and trusted had been betraying me behind my back, probably for months. I went through our conversations, her texts, her emails, trying to find some thread of explanation or redemption. But there was nothing. Just her lies, her dismissiveness, her sneering attitude when I confronted her. She told me I was paranoid, that I was overreacting, that I was insecure. But deep down, I knew the truth. Jessica had been cheating on me with her best friend's brother, Jason. I found out later she'd been sneaking around with him for months, hiding behind a facade of a perfect marriage while sowing her seeds elsewhere. The shock turned into anger. That pure, scorching anger I'd never felt before. The kind of anger that makes you want to burn everything down. She had been so bitchy, so dismissive, and now I saw her for what she really was: selfish, manipulative, and completely unfaithful. I started to think about all the times I'd been patient, forgiving even when she'd snapped at me or when she'd brushed off my concerns. And for what? To be played and lied to like I was some idiot. That's when I decided I couldn't let her get away with it. I knew I had to do something, but I also wanted her to hurt, just like she'd hurt me. I came up with a plan to expose her in front of her friends, in front of everyone she cared about. I wanted her to see the damage she'd caused, to feel the shame she'd tried so hard to hide. But I also knew I had to be careful. Jessica was a master at twisting things, at turning people against me if she thought I was a threat. So I kept my cards close, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, acting like the innocent victim, blaming me for everything wrong in her life, even though I knew her better now. The divorce papers. They arrived the very day she booked the lawyer. I saw her on the phone one night, sneering at the lawyer's number, her eyes cold and calculating. That was the moment I realized she was already planning her escape, that she'd been planning it all along. And here I was, left with a shattered heart, knowing I gave her everything and she threw it all away for some guy's sex and a thrill. My feelings were all over the place. I felt betrayed, humiliated, furious, but also deeply hurt. How could I have missed all the signs? How did I not see that I'd married a woman capable of lying so effortlessly? I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to find the moment I should have known, the signs I ignored. But deep down, I knew that the worst part was the fact that I'd trusted her so blindly. I'd given her my life, my love, my commitment, and she had betrayed it all for a quick fuck with Jason. By this point, I was done playing nice. I had enough evidence to make her regret everything, and I wasn't about to let her manipulate me anymore. I decided to confront her with everything I'd uncovered, not just the affair, but the fact that she'd been planning her escape for months. I wanted her to see that I knew the truth, that I wasn't some clueless husband who'd been blindsided. One evening, I called her over. She showed up trying to act innocent, but I could see the flicker of guilt behind her eyes. I laid out the evidence on the table, the texts, the photos, the times I'd been following her. Her face went pale, but she quickly recovered her bitchy smirk and started spewing her typical lies. "Kyle, you're just jealous," she said, brushing it off like it was nothing. "You're insecure and you're overreacting. Mark is just a friend and you're making a big deal out of nothing." I looked straight at her and told her I knew all about her plans to divorce me, how she'd been secretly talking to lawyers, how she'd been making arrangements to leave. Her eyes widened for a split second, but she immediately turned defensive. "You're crazy. You're accusing me of stuff I didn't do. You're just trying to control me. Maybe I was thinking about leaving, but I never cheated. You're just paranoid." That's when I snapped. I told her I was done trusting her, done pretending that everything was fine. I told her I'd seen her with Jason, that I knew she'd been lying to my face all along. I told her I was sick of her bitchy attitude, her manipulative ways, her pretending to be the victim. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't going to sit around anymore, letting her run this game. I told her I was filing for divorce, and I wasn't going to look back. Her face twisted into anger as she realized I wasn't backing down. She spat at me, called me a controlling asshole, said I ruined everything. But I didn't care. I was tired of her lies, tired of feeling like a fool. I told her that she could lie, cheat, manipulate all she wanted, but I knew the truth now and I was done. I was done being her punching bag, her emotional target. She stormed out that night, slamming the door behind her, leaving me in my apartment with the cold reality that everything I thought our marriage was had been a lie all along. Now I sit here, reflecting on what I've learned. That trust can be shattered in seconds. That people are capable of some pretty horrible things behind your back. And that sometimes, the person you love most in the world can turn out to be just a stranger wearing your wife's face. It's a bitter pill, but I guess I have to accept it. Moving forward, I know I'll never trust blindly again, and I'll always keep my eyes open. Because love without honesty is just a game, and I've finally learned the hard way that I don't want to play anymore. Since everything came crashing down, I've been living in this strange, hollow state. It's like I'm walking around with the memory of who I was before all this happened, but I'm not that person anymore. I'd be lying if I said I don't still feel hurt, a deep, gnawing ache that won't quite go away. But at the same time, I feel a strange sense of relief. Maybe it's the relief of finally knowing the truth, of removing the blindfold I'd been wearing for so long. I spend a lot of time thinking about everything. About Jessica, about how I really didn't know her at all, and about how I let myself trust someone so completely only to be betrayed so ruthlessly. It's made me question everything about love, loyalty, even myself. I used to believe in forever, in happily ever after. Now, I see that some people are just good at hiding who they really are. Jessica proved that to me in the worst way possible. Moving forward, I know I have to rebuild. Not just my relationship with her, but my own sense of self. I realized I lost myself trying to keep the peace, trying to be the good husband. But I also learned that sometimes holding on isn't worth it, especially when the foundation was built on lies. I've started going to therapy, trying to process everything, trying to forgive myself for not seeing it sooner. It's not easy, and I don't think I'll ever fully forget, but I'm working on accepting what happened. There's a part of me that still feels anger, still feels betrayed, but I also feel a strange kind of liberation. I don't need her approval or validation anymore. I don't need her to be the woman I thought she was, because she is. And maybe that's the lesson I want to share with anyone reading this. Trust is fragile, and sometimes the only way to truly heal is to accept that some things you can't fix. You just have to let them go, learn from it, and move on. So here I am at the end of my story with a clearer view of what really matters: honesty, respect, and being true to yourself. Jessica's betrayal was a brutal wake-up call, but it also forced me to see who I really am and what I deserve. That's what I'll keep in mind, and maybe, just maybe, I'll find happiness again.